is up, guys? We are doing kind of a quick last-minute live today over a pretty serious situation going on over in Colorado, which, oddly enough, some of this stuff you just can't make up. If you've been following me for a while and followed through a lot of the CPS case stuff that we've done, you have most likely encountered a woman by the name of Laurel Burchell. She exists through a multitude of fake accounts on Facebook. She's a cyber stalker. Her daughter, Halina Morley, actually had a CPS issue. She apparently lost her child. She has a pretty decent criminal record going on at this point. A ton of just frivolous lawsuits that have lost, such as a $10 million lawsuit against the federal government. I mean, it's just crazy all around. And it turns out, because we keep on seeing our guys from these groups over here popping up in other situations, and that's what we got here once again. These two women, Andrea and Floss, are now having to deal with Laurel and her daughter Halina over some pretty outrageous animal abuse that's falling into a very gray area of the law to where anybody can do anything. So right now I'm going to go ahead and let Andrea and Floss both introduce themselves, so you guys can do that in whatever order you want, and just kind of tell everybody who you are and what even got you to be a part of this.
Go ahead.
Go
Floss.
for it. Okay. My name is Floss Blackburn. I'm the founder and president for Denkai Animal Sanctuary. We are a 17-year-old nonprofit organization, and I was initially contacted by the property owner for help with these animals on February. It was a little before February 3rd, and so that's how I initially came in. Got started with this whole situation.
Floss and I have worked on a few things together. I'm Andrea. I'm the director of Broken Shovels Farm Sanctuary. We're a large animal, 23 species farm animal rescue and sanctuary. And I guess right away we connected on this and knew it was going to take more than just a couple of hands to figure out what the heck we were going to do about this situation. It was clearly complicated from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so is there even a way to easily break down the situation, or what is the general situation at this time?
Boy. So I don't even know where to start.
And just so the people know at home, Floss did send me a bunch of pictures and videos. So if you see the screen switch away, the pictures and videos that you're seeing are actually from the area where the animals are being abused. I do want to go ahead and say, depending on the person, I think it's safe to go ahead and just say graphic content warning. There are images and videos of animal abuse, so if that's something that you can't stand to see, there may be some points where you might not want to look at the screen if you still want to hear what's going on. But here in a minute, while they're explaining the situation, I will be showing some of those pictures and videos, just a heads up. And
I can probably best speak to the initial visit. So when I initially went out, which was February 3rd, before everything else was involved, or anyone else had come on, because I guess I sounded the alarm is what it was. There were multiple dead animals on the property. I could count at least 2 dead animals that I could see through the fence in a camper trailer filled with feces. And then I was able to see about 4, I want to say there were 4 dead goats that are piled in a loafing shed together, a carcass outside of that, and then a dead duck outside of the pen. And you can see those images right now, some of them. And then right now, beyond that, there were live animals, goats, pot-bellied pigs, chickens, ducks. There's a turkey and a little lop-eared rabbit, all kind of just running in this pen together, along with the livestock guardian dog that you'll see in the video. And none of them at the time I was there had food or water available to them. There wasn't any food on the property that could have been fed to them at that point in time. Everything I saw was all grounds for something that the sheriff would have had the ability to go in and help those animals for, given that evidence. And so the background that I came to find out as I spoke with one of the animal control officer, Zachary Vaughn, I want to say, with the sheriff's department, basically told me that this has been an ongoing case with them for about 12 months now, that they have been out to the property for regular visits, and that there was really, they were aware of it and they were monitoring it, but just because there were dead animals in the pen with the live animals did not mean that they had the jurisdiction to go in and do anything in terms of basically seizing the animals off the property, or even doing a necropsy on the dead animals, laying in the pen again with the live animals. At that time, my assumption was that the dog was probably eating off one of the carcasses, which can be seen in one of the photos I sent. And that's why that dog was at a decent weight, because there was definitely no dog food anywhere to be seen. Alcohol bottles throughout that pen, trash. You have sheep with twine wrapped around their necks. Animals with, like, I think one of the goats or the sheep had a collar on that was a little too tight. I think the sheriff did make her remove that. That was my initial assessment on this place. It's just an absolute mess. Some of the animals, their body weight wasn't terrible, but a lot of them, the pot-bellied pigs especially, not in good shape at all. Which led into, obviously, the sounding the alarm, and then we had a bunch of wonderful other, Broken Shovels and these other wonderful groups come in to lend a hand with this and try to find help for these animals. But there has been solidly no movement from the authorities to help them.
With the dead animals, do you have any clue how long the dead animal thing has been going on?
Some of those carcasses looked to have been there for at least a couple weeks. I mean, some were skeletons, basically bones with some fur on it. That can take months and months. So this has definitely been going on for some time, but some, I would say, to me, it looked as though the bulk of them were fairly fresh, which is alarming because it's a pattern that is clearly getting much worse very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think Floss probably saw the same.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, there's been, neighbor reports that there have been multiple dead animals throughout the year on that property due to Halina and the care that they are not receiving. So, a lot of people have been noticing this going on and just haven't been able to get anything done with it. And this I really think we need to point out too, this is a repeat thing for Halina. This is not new for her. There's record of her, the BLM, her being in court with the BLM regarding 2 horses that she had adopted from them that they had to take back from her for lack of care. So she has a background with this, and I'm sure there's more than we know about,
Yeah, I guess the thing that really sort of struck me in the brazenness of all of this was there were a couple of hacked off legs of a sheep that were just tied with twine to a chain link fence. It yes. To me, it showed that she was looking to get noticed for this.
Yes.
In my opinion, it was so in your face to see just these horrible hacked off legs hanging from the top of a fence. It really said a lot more than a lot of hoarding cases. A lot of them, I feel like, are sort of passive. People don't have the resources. They get injured, they can't do it anymore, and so they just sort of walk away and don't deal with it. This was one of those more like aggressive hoarding cases where it seemed like ill intent with. It seemed like she was trying to.
Oh, I think you cut out on us a little bit
heck.
there, Andrea.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really feel as though looking at this, and I know Floss has seen a lot. I've seen a lot of hoarding cases.
Mm-hmm.
This one is very different than others that I've seen because it seemed very aggressive. It seemed as though she was really aggressively wanting people to understand, hey, I'm a hoarder. I'm doing something bad. You know, I've dealt with a lot of people. They get older, they get sick, they hurt their back, they run out of money, and so the animals suffer. This is a small number of animals. So usually when I see a hoarding case, there's a lot more animals, which make it very hard to take care of them. This isn't a huge investment to take care of this number of animals.
No.
It seems as though she's more trying to throw it in our face. She's trying to get noticed, or she's trying to punish the landlord or the neighbors or whatever it is, whatever her goal is that I don't really know that I've figured out yet. I really feel like she wants people to know that she's doing this.
With Halina, and actually, oh no, you're fine.
I'm gonna have to move.
So on the other side, which there is a lot of different layers to this all around, but another thing I do want people to know is, okay, so you have Halina, and I did see some people asking in the comments. Just to be clear here, Halina is not the property owner. She's renting the property, to my understanding, and has basically bullied the actual owner.
Right. The property owner is in her 80s. She's about 80 years old. And she does not know livestock, the care of them. She doesn't know anything about that or how to do that. And so from our conversations with the property owner in regards to this, Halina has very much taken, and her mom have very much taken advantage of that in terms of being successful in scaring the property owner to the point where she doesn't want to go outside. You know, she doesn't even want to walk around her property because she's so scared Halina and her, you know, Halina's going to show up and cause problems for her or try to sue her for something else, or, you know, anything Halina can do. She is an absolute bully, and she has gotten away with it. And she continues to get away with it, even with the law. And so, you know, unfortunately, the property owner is drained of resources in terms of fighting this woman in court. They have been in court, I believe it's been since October, trying to fight an eviction notice. Initially, I believe it was served in June of 2020. Wow. And so, yeah, so what happens is, you know, Halina and her mom, I think it's more her mom than Halina. I really don't think Halina is all that intelligent. I really think that this is coming from her mom feeding her, you know, and driving her with all this information. So they're very good at appealing everything. They'll appeal everything they possibly can to drag things out. Any normal person, A, wouldn't be in this position, and B, why would they ever want to drag something out when they are not wanted on a piece of property anymore? You know, like it's absolute control for them. You know, the more control they feel like they have, the better they feel. And that's what they're doing as well with this situation, trying to say that they want $50,000 today and another $75,000 tomorrow for people to buy these animals.
That's actually what I was going to hop over and address, just so people understand what is going on here. At this point, Halina's mother, Laurel, which again, any of my older regular followers, they know Laurel well. She is a nightmare of a person.
Yeah.
A complete and absolute nightmare of a person. And now that this is gaining attention, Laurel and her daughter Halina are actually trying to extort these these animal sanctuaries, these animal lovers, basically out of as much money as they can for them to give up the animals and for Halina to leave the property. And that's
Right.
that's something that just started today, correct?
Well, this part, I believe, started last night, is my understanding, and it's just heinous. It's not gonna work. Try again, Laurel. Like, we're not doing it. You know, I mean, this is retarded. It's not. It's not okay. It's absolute. It's just totally ridiculous. And this is again, it's another way for them to play games, to try to gain control. And heck, if somebody's stupid enough to step up with that amount of money to give to them for those animals, they are, you know, having a great day. So I mean, on our end, on Denkai's end, I've been very much discouraging people from doing that, simply because it just enables Halina and her mom, you know, to do this again, to, you know, whatever other plans they have for it, you know, we don't want to enable her.
No, and I can fully agree with that, because I mean, that's clearly what that is. She's trying to exploit you guys and your audience and other animal lovers 100%. We were kind of talking about it earlier, and I do agree. Like, one thing when it comes to animals, people are normally pretty quick to help out and chip in some cash. And so, I mean, it's pretty clear what they're trying to pull off here. They think that they can just swoop in and...
Agreed.
And so is Halina even responsive? I mean, like, 'cause now both of you have been out there, correct?
What was
I
really
have been.
interesting is she made a
Yeah,
comment.
actually, I'm sorry, Luthi, you're correct. It's extortion, not exploitation. It's there. She's 100% extorting them. You're correct. Thank you, Lisa. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I haven't been out there. Once the story dropped, it was clear that there were going to be arrests if we went there. So I did not actually make it out. I've just been relying on advocates who are sending video footage that they get. You know, I know that there's a belief that my sanctuary is more involved than we are because we're talking about it. And I think that was clear, you know, when there was a Facebook comment from Laurel or Halina today saying that, you know, they wanted the money to come from broken shovels only. So they were really direct in saying, you know, it was saying, we see what you said about us, and we're not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any clue what dead animal we're seeing in this? Is that like a camper?
Yeah, that's inside the camper, and I took that picture. And I think the one up on the table, is whatever that is a goat. And then the one below it has hooves. At first, I kind of was like, maybe it's a dog, but I think that could be the calf, potentially, that had been on this property. If you look at Halina's Facebook, you'll see a small calf that she had out there at one point, and it kind of resembles that, or it's another goat, one or the other.
And now with goats being there, because I'm not an animal expert, but one of my friends actually did have a pet goat. They're pretty bad about eating a little bit of everything and anything. Is that really even safe that those glass bottles are out there and whatnot?
Obviously, the glass bottles are definitely not something you want in the pen with livestock or dogs. And what's interesting is, why are they there? Like, what? You know, why? What was she doing? Drinking and throwing her alcohol bottles in the pen? I don't get it.
Yeah, because that's that's a lot of alcohol bottles just in this picture. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
They were all over that pen.
That's really not normal.
Doesn't it
No.
sound strangely set up?
Right.
And so with the dead animals, I mean, is that not enough to? I mean, how is that legally allowed for her to just have dead animals for weeks, if not months, with all these other animals?
Andrea,
Sorry, my
go.
cow escaped.
Your cow.
No,
love
it's
it.
my baby cow. He escaped his pen and came up the stairs, and I don't know what to do with him now.
I was wondering what that was.
like,
It's hilarious.
yeah, he looks like a little moose, but I don't know if he knows how to get back down. Oh, he knows how to work stairs, so good for him. I'm so sorry.
No,
Every
that's
animal,
completely.
it was quiet for hours, and you just missed everyone's nap time. My puppies came home from getting spayed, neutered, and the cows woke up, and so this is sanctuary life. At least this is very raw and real footage you're getting.
I'm loving this.
But yeah, so going back to looking around the pen and seeing all that stuff, it goes back to my idea that she's kind of been setting this up with all the garbage to make it look even worse. I really feel like there was I mean, I don't understand how else all of that trash got in there. Like that, it just didn't make any sense. There was a weird thing that, the advocates were throwing blankets in the last couple of days, and she was saying, you can't throw blankets in, the goats will eat them and choke on them. And we're like, the blankets, there's plastic bags, there's baling twine, there's all these things in the pen that goats really do chew on and eat and get blockages and die. It's just so strange that she was, pointing that out, but almost not everything that's already in those pens. And
because
so it is a question of how did you get there?
That's one thing. Like, people have been bringing blankets and whatnot for like the baby pigs and stuff like that, and they're refusing to let the animals use those blankets.
She takes them away. They eat them in the middle of the night. The pigs get under them. They start to get warm. She comes in the morning. I don't know how someone does this, but she, in negative sub-zero temperature, she's taking blankets from baby piglets that are freezing and throwing them out of the pen.
Because what are your guys' temperatures right now? I think we're like negative.
To me, how anyone.
Oh, Andrea, yours was cutting out on us just a little bit just now.
Can do that.
Which I imagine that's something that may happen. Obviously, we're across the country from each other. We have this winter weather going on, so there may be
They
some.
were negative 18 night up in Greeley.
So she's taking blankets from baby pigs in negative 18 degree weather. Yeah, and I know, Janice, like I said, if it's with the weather going on and everything, there may be some glitches on this stream. That's something that's just kind of it's out of all three of our control. We do have this pretty serious winter storm going on, which is the other part. And that's where, okay, your calf had interrupted that with the dead, with the dead animals. That's not enough for legal action. Like, it is. I mean, it would seem like you can't just have rotting animals around where you're having all these other animals. Oh.
So there was actually a.
Okay, sorry, Andrea, you kind of skipped on us again.
Oh, I'll let Floss go ahead on that one.
Do we still have Floss? Did Floss freeze up?
Oh, she looks frozen as well.
Well,
if you can hear me, there was actually a statute that had that problem, and we checked that out today. And found out that Weld County specifically has removed that statute from their laws.
Andrea, you're breaking up on us pretty bad. Um, I guess Floss, we got you back on there.
Yeah,
Could
I had to
Floss back.
swap. Sorry.
Floss, with all these dead animals, is that's not legal ground for anything to step in? Can you explain that at all?
In the past it should have been and it would have been. And apparently, I think we just found out that they have Weld County has gotten rid. Sorry, my computer is just acting up. I'm sorry. What we understand is that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, no, we can still hear you.
Okay, sorry. Apparently, what my understanding is that Weld County has no longer has a law against for carcasses and burial, if I'm saying that correctly. And so, because they basically said that they're allowed to have dead animals on their property, and they can do whatever they want with them, that they're not going to make them remove them. They're not going to seize them for necropsy. They're not going to do anything with that because it's perfectly legal for them to have this going on, to have these animals dead in the pen with the live animals, which in the past, again, that is not my experience hands-on dealing with stuff like this. So they're saying it's legal. And unless
It's
she willingly gives up the dead animals, which she has refused to do, they can't do anything. And she knows that. She absolutely knows that.
so, and that what we're looking at right here, that's what you were talking about earlier, Andrea. That's a goat's leg that's tied to
Yeah,
the
sheep.
fence. A sheep leg.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, sheep or goat leg. Yeah, but yeah, it's tied up to the fence.
How many sheep legs are tied to fences? Do you even have any clue why that would be?
No,
I guess is there any
Yeah.
normal reason whatsoever why there would be a sheep leg tied to a fence like that?
Mm-hmm.
if someone were skinning, if someone were taking the skin off of an animal, they might hang them that way. The property owner also told us that she believes at one time that this woman was doing her own necropsies when an animal would die,
Oh, geez.
which for someone untrained to be doing a necropsy is very creepy, very off-putting. If you have no training, all you're doing really is opening up someone, filling out their guts.
So
It's very odd.
out
Yeah.
of out of all of this area, is there even any part of it that you would say is acceptable for the animals? I mean, is it any part? Is the chicken coops? Is the goat pen? Is anything actually acceptable?
Boy. Ian, I don't even want to say anything to that because I feel like I'll.
I mean, it's just going through
Yeah,
these pictures are just seems really ridiculous. I can see what you mean with her like really putting it in people's faces.
Yeah, I mean, and apparently in her mind, this is acceptable. And, whereas anywhere else, it's not, there's no animal husbandry going on here. These are all different species of animals that require different types of diets and types of care, and for them to all be thrown in a pen together, and not receive the proper minerals, food, care, everything that they need is not good animal husbandry.
And then
I do find it's pretty typical for hoarding cases that I've been on. It's really frequently the person hoarding can't see what the rest of us are seeing. So they'll take you on a tour as if everything's normal, and you'll be stepping over, you know, an old corpse here, an old corpse there. I've just never seen anything quite so drastic as this one. But it's not that weird for a hoarder to not realize how filthy something is, or how unacceptable a situation is. And
it all,
especially
again,
for her mom keeps telling her that everything is fine. Her mom is swearing everything is fine. And so, you know, there's always sort of the hoarder and the enabler in these situations is kind of what I find. And, you know, she's being told now, unfortunately, law enforcement usually is the one that stops enabling it and goes, hey, this isn't okay, and cites them for specific things so they can start to maybe see and understand. But in this situation, law enforcement is also enabling it and saying, yeah, this is all fine. This looks fine to me.
So on
yeah.
a legal perspective, what can even happen now? I know both you guys have been getting some attention on this, and I know a lot of people are angry and they're confused how this is even being allowed to go on. I mean, what does happen now? Because this kind of seems like it's tied into a deeper issue of just the proper laws not being in place.
Right. I mean, legislation needs to be addressed, obviously, and I know that's been an ongoing fight for organizations for many years. But absolutely, legislation needs to be addressed, and also mental health. You know, this is absolutely a mental health issue, 100%. And it doesn't stop at the animals. It's also affecting people. It's affecting her child, you know, who was taken from her home, and it continues to affect him. We're sure of that, you know. So, and the people that they're coming across, and you know, it's just spilling over into many, many different categories. It's not just the animals. So these, you know, you've got these people. I don't even know what you would call them, but you know, they're definitely not healthy people.
Then, as far as I know, Laurel is in, because this is going on in Weld County, Colorado. That's where Halina is with actual animals. And then Laurel, as far as last I knew, she lives in California. So it's like a weird supporting her from across the country when she's not even actually part of the initial situation.
Well, and I believe that Laurel came out when this was initially, you know, kind of starting to become known. And it seems like she probably got Halina back on track in terms of, you know, what she should be doing to handle this. And we do know that Halina's son was in those pens with those dead animals, you know, with her as well. However, it seems like her son is back with Laurel now. So it seems like her mom definitely gets her lined out with what she needs to do, and then leaves, goes home.
And it does. There is. I right now I got links in the description leading to both pages for these sanctuaries. Because of the software I use, I always have to say this. I can't put all the characters that I want in. I have a character limit. So after this live is done, I go back in and add links. I'll also add a link to Kent Hovitz's Worst Nightmare. If anybody's interested in seeing some more about Laurel and Halina, you can go to that Facebook group. And there's a pretty good amount of information. I imagine people in my comment section could even post links to Beatty's group if they would be so kind. Again, this is another one of those times that our people crossed over to some other crazy stuff, because Laurel has been part of that CPS scamming sovereign crowd. Laurel's daughter had a CPS case. We believe Laurel actually got custody of her daughter's child, and then now these two are over here abusing and killing animals, and now trying to extort these women for over $100,000 to get them to stop abusing the animals. It's
Well, yeah, and if they figure out, oh, if we just abuse, you know, if we do more and we do worse, you know, we can get more money out of these people because they're gonna give us what we want, you know. So for them, it's all psychology. It's in getting what they want, no matter what.
Thank you very much there, Melissa, on the link. So one thing that both of you have said is that this is not like a normal animal hoarding case. Could you go into a little bit more detail on like what are some of the red flag differences that you're seeing here?
Yeah, definitely. This is not like any hoarding case that I've seen. Not so much as the condition of the animals. I mean, there are usually more animals. This one seems like a lot of props. It seems much more conscious. Um,
Mhm.
the responses. Animal hoarding is a mental illness, and it's a PTSD linked illness. But I have to say, this seems more like what you might call a psychopath or a sociopath and a sadist. I've really watched her enjoying, I've seen videos of her feeding the animals and them crowding around and, begging, they're all standing around her in a circle and looking up at her and begging for a few more morsels. It seems like God complex, psychopath, sadist. I think she's really enjoyed, stalking our profiles and seeing uh, everyone's emotions being controlled. Um, I've never seen something quite like this with a hoarder. I do see, I see the denial, I see all of that stuff, but I don't see the enjoyment. I see a lot of embarrassment. People, oftentimes when they get caught hoarding, they sort of disappear from social media. They don't engage anymore. Um, this really feels like she's enjoying this whole experience in a very strange way that's foreign to me.
Yeah.
So with
And I don't know, Floss, if that's the same experience for you, but first time I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
this.
Yeah. Usually we're able to kind of, in every other place I've worked, we've been able to eventually negotiate, or like I've been able to create a relationship with that hoarder and in order to help the animals. This one, you're not going to get that with this lady. I mean, with these two, it's just not. That it is absolutely 100% not similar in terms of the way they operate or the way they think or act.
and is that like Halina does? So Halina, have either of you actually talked to her face to face yet?
No, I have not.
No, but I believe there are some other people who have
Because this
been
is
Yeah.
this is also like neighbors have been concerned about this for a while now.
many
Yeah.
neighbors have been concerned.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought one of you were about to say something. So what? Where? So I mean, where do what do people do? Where like how does this stop?
This is new territory, I think, for both of us. I don't know how this stops because I've never seen a situation where law enforcement went up against something so severe and absolutely said they would not do anything about it. I mean, they have put their foot down. Even the governor has had to reconsider. The governor of Colorado to reconsider, and they're saying they're not going to do anything about it. I mean, it's sort of an indefinite. There's nothing that can be done for us except for watch these animals die and try and change legislation.
Well, and I think actively too, if people can continue to keep an eye on the situation, keep this alive, keep it known. Don't let this just fade into the background. Like keep the pressure on, because that is how we're going to be able to make a difference. Whether even if we are not unfortunately able to completely help this group of animals, but for animals in the future, you know. Sorry, I'm trying to and the other thing too is we have the case number. I'm trying to find that. But if people, are I don't even want to say harass the sheriff's department at this point, because it's not going to get anywhere and it's just making them frustrated. Um, but in terms of legislators, keep on Governor Polis, keep on, First Gentleman Marlon Reese, any other legislators in the state that are animal friendly. That's what people can do, is they can really put the pressure on there and continue to keep the awareness going for this group of animals and what is happening for them. I mean, the more eyes we have helping to watch these animals, the second another one dies, the second something like that happens, Halina knows, that should give grounds, to get in and help them. And I know she knows that.
And like these pigs that we're seeing here, now those are the pigs, the baby pigs. She took the blanket and then she leaves them with these garbage bags, apparently.
Yeah, they're leg bags.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know these animals, with the sort of temperatures you guys are in, is this? Our pigs are not
Deadly.
built for this, is it?
Yeah, it's absolutely deadly. And I mean, even a lay person, even someone who's never even met a potbelly pig, they can look at that video and see that shivering and know that that's not any way that they'd want any animal to look. No animal is shivering and comfortable. That was such a look of despair on that little pig's face, and just kind of giving up, and his body just kind of twitching. I think that was just so obvious. It amazed me that anyone could be looking right at those animals and think that things are fine.
Right.
Off the top of your head, how many dead animals do you believe are in that pen with the live ones?
I want to say I counted 8 total, including the duck, when I was there, but it was hard to see a complete number back in this loafing shed that you're looking at right now, just because they're kind of piled together. But I think my best estimate was 4 back in there, if I remember correctly, and then the carcass outside of it,
Yes.
and then 2 in the camper and the duck, I want to say. So I think there were 5 like in this area that you're looking at right now.
Is that a newer part of this, or has the dead animal? I mean, is that an ongoing issue that she's just has these dead animals rotting around the pens?
It should be an issue, but they're saying it's not an issue.
Well, I mean, like as far as people like watching her, because there's been concerns from neighbors and everything. Is this something that they've seen before, or is this something that she just recently started?
Some of those carcasses are definitely older.
Mhm.
So it's all different stages of decay, but the alarming thing is that you can kind of see this timeline of decay, and there's far more fresh dead animals than what was previously happening, I guess. So the problem is clearly getting much worse very quickly. But yeah, some of those look like they could have been there for 3, 4, 5 months, and some look like the last couple of weeks.
So more than likely, it's an ongoing issue, that even beyond what we're seeing here, it's probably been something that's going on for much longer than that. Um,
And then I mean, is this gonna push you guys more towards any sort of legislation lobbying? Since I mean, it seems like people's hands are completely tied, and they're at the
mhm.
mercy of these 2 psychopaths demanding
Yep.
$125,000.
Yeah, and on our end, we definitely already have people in trying to push for talking to lawmakers in terms of how do we push for better legislation, and then also, um, and I'm sure on Broken Shovels they'll probably do this as well. We are going to post on the Denkai page in terms of links for the legislators who people can reach out to, what kind of action they can do. In terms of how they can kind of make a difference, on the legislative level, and pushing something more through. Unfortunately, everybody's hands are tied at this point, I think, with these poor animals.
That man, that still just blows my mind.
I think everybody's thinking the same thing you are. Even the media is having a hard time understanding why this is happening and being allowed to happen. And the other thing I just wanted to, if it's okay to mention, was that Halina, apparently there was a news story that Andrea found about her wanting to go to school in Arkansas to raise farm
Yes.
animals. So that's a big concern. We definitely want to see that stopped.
And I believe
Yeah.
somebody said in the comments I saw a minute ago, I'm pretty sure somebody said that she got denied funding to try that.
Okay. Okay.
That's very good news.
Let me see if I can find that comment for sure. I'm pretty sure I just read that though, but don't quote me on that at this point. Now, one thing, like with this whole demand of money, from the animals that you know that are out there, what's the actual value? I feel like $125,000 is a little bit high for them to
In the,
stop.
I mean, none of these animals, if for not from a pet or a sanctuary standpoint, but because these are production animals, if they were to go to the sale barn, they'd be lucky to get any bids at all. But you'd be hard pressed to get more than maybe a couple $1,000s for all of them. The chickens and ducks and roosters basically have no worth whatsoever. The goats and sheep at this point would only really be valuable to anyone who was planning to slaughter them, and of course being so thin. Potbelly pigs, there's a pot crisis, so you can't give potbelly pigs away. We
Mhm.
actually turn down about 1,000 requests per year for people wanting to surrender potbelly pigs. So
Oh wow.
I mean, at
Yeah.
the top end, maybe a couple $1,000s, and that's because the dog may be a purebred dog with papers. But and it's so hard for me because obviously their worth isn't in money to me, but knowing that they are market animals or that they are food animals, that's what the general public might put their worth at.
Right, and it's definitely not equivalent to the $125,000 they're asking
Oh
for.
God, no, no. I know that someone offered her 4,000 last night and thought she would jump at it because it's so much more than she could ever hope to get if she took these animals to auction. And little did we know, we were like, wow, she didn't even 75, $125,000. As it's like she's in her own private auction that no one, but she keeps raising.
So they're basically, Laurel, and in case anybody was confused on that part, this is a message from Halina's mother, who's abusing these animals, and they are literally trying to extort $125,000 out of these animal sanctuaries to stop abusing these animals. I mean, that's really all that is. They're just holding them hostage at this point.
Yeah.
There is no equivalent value. There is no need for $125,000. They're just, I mean, and that's the point where you really are getting into a different level of just psychotic. I mean, it's very disturbing that I'll stop abusing these animals for $125,000. That's a
And
con.
they probably most likely have no intention
It's
of
mind
turning over
blowing
those
to let
animals.
yourself.
I'm sorry. What was that?
No, it's part of the show. It's a part of her enjoying manipulating and controlling people's emotions and watch. And I don't believe whatsoever that these are. I'm sure she'd love to have that money, but I don't.
So actually, yeah, Jess, that's 100% correct. It is a hostage situation. A very disturbing hostage situation. Um, I don't, I don't even know. It's just crazy that you guys can't get any help out there. As far as like your state leaders, your officials, is anybody on your side and like, yeah, we need to step in?
I think they've tried, but again, they're bound by laws that are not allowing them to do it. And I think that's where everybody is stuck, quite frankly, which again blows my mind because I have worked other cases with this county that somehow they figured a way around it. So makes no sense to me.
I have seen also some other screenshots. Like one of the things that I believe it was Laurel was asking for was not just money, but also for her daughter to be able to leave the state safely, something along those lines. And
Yeah.
And that, is that something about her? Is she on probation or something like that?
I don't.
She very well could be. She has
know.
a criminal record. She definitely has a criminal record. I think I have a couple screenshots of just some of her stuff. There's for sure a criminal record
What
that
I saw
goes
that she would
pretty
want.
far back. Forcible entry detainer back in November. Other forcible entry. Child
Oh,
custody, protection order, protection orders. I mean, yeah, she's
Rough living. Yeah.
kind of a mess of a person. And I believe that actually has to do with her children being taken away, or her child being taken away before. I believe it was just one child, but don't quote me on that. But I mean, yeah, she's had her name involved in legal stuff since at least 2009. So you're talking about over a
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah. And that's, most likely a pattern that is not going to stop with her.
Well, and again, she has. This is another thing where people are probably being somewhat cautious because she does do these. They try and do these completely bogus lawsuits. Like I believe this one was related to requesting $10 million. Yeah, I mean it's
That
crazy.
was, yeah,
yeah.
in regards to child services and her son. Yep. Yeah. That sounded like it was pretty nasty.
Well, and like I said, that my audience actually is any of my older audience is definitely familiar with Laurel and all of her accounts with her cyber. I mean, it is cyber stalking. It's bullying. Um, they're both very, I would say, disturbed individuals at the best. But this, I really didn't. I'm not surprised by this, but it's still pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
Is there a,
I was honestly so surprised when I came across the page on Facebook where I connected with everyone. That was so shocking because we had no idea. We thought, oh, these people are horrible. They do horrible things. We didn't know that there was already a group of people talking about the horrible things that they are doing, and it had nothing to do with animal abuse. I think I found that just so not surprising, but like, wow, this is bigger than I would have thought.
and then like we were kind of talking about earlier that some things are there's some misinformation and whatnot going around. Is there any part of that that's like major that you wanted to try and clear up?
I'll let you go on that one.
There's so many people that I know I saw Floss getting berated earlier about, how come you guys haven't done anything? You're just sitting there.
Yeah.
This has been 13 days. There's this idea that we're able to just sort of rush the place and take the animals ourselves. A lot of people assume that animal rescues are part of a government agency and we have some say in that. We've had a lot of criticism for, how could you not be doing anything more? There's also the idea that, the average citizen is like, can't we just all bring food over and throw it over? The delicate situation that they're in because there's so many different species in one pen, feeding one food at the, to the wrong animal, getting a hold of it could be death for that animal. So it's not as though we can just rush over and throw all this food in. That would have to be very calculated. There's I think everybody's feeling hopeless, but there are some people that are so angry they're wanting to take it out on. Especially, seems like Floss was getting a lot more flack from people than I was about how dare you not do anything about this, and it's like none of us can have a felony. Everybody's saying, well,
Right.
people don't understand that food animals can be tried under the terrorism laws because it's tampering with the food supply if a prosecutor so decided to, and that could be 20 years in prison, a felony that could ruin our entire animal rescue career and everything that we do. So I think there's some really out there ideas,
and there is, because that is one thing right now. Halina is gliding through in this very gray area of the law, but the moment you guys go in there and just take their animals, you can be prosecuted. That's going to be theft.
Felony theft.
So,
and anybody would be. And they're already issuing citations to people if they find them on the property, or if people have literally posted on Facebook that they went onto the property, they issued those people a citation for just posting about the fact that they went onto the property. Gosh, I mean, that is not the answer right now.
well, and I am glad that you even brought that up, because I could see that confusion. Like, you guys aren't government. You guys don't have badges. You don't have guns. Most sanctuaries, you're doing a lot of donation work, and I mean, it's not what people think. You're not animal control. You're not going in there saving these animals and running out of burning buildings. You definitely have your red tape and guidelines you have to stay within.
Right.
And we don't receive government funding for the work that we do. We're privately funded. We have foundations that help us. We have, you know what I mean? Like, we are not government funded, and our organizations take a lot of flack for stuff that should fall under government resources, animal control, the hoarding cases, cruelty cases, all of that. We get involved because we have a voice. We have a lot of followers that can help to make a difference. But, we get beat up just as hard as you can imagine, too, from people who don't read all the facts. They don't read a whole press release. They just are not paying attention, or they interpret it in their own way, and just pipe off.
It's basically confusing the fact that you can't do something with the completely inaccurate statement that you're choosing not to do something.
Exactly.
Because, and again, I can't stress that enough to anybody watching this. I've seen it even in the comments today, and it's fine. I completely get it. I'm not telling you guys not to say it, but I see people saying just go take the animals. But these guys are running, they're running actual sanctuaries. If they go get charges like that, that could really screw everything up for them in the long run. Which,
yeah,
I can't tell anyone what to do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I can't tell anyone what to do. I can't tell anyone, but what I can tell them is if anyone goes and steals the animals and somehow makes it out without getting arrested, neither Floss nor I can take those animals. We can't even be aiding these situations. And obviously, as vocal as both of us have been, we would be the first place people would look. It would put all of the animals that we care for long term in grave danger. So, what may look like you're just not doing anything for these 20 animals. Well, Floss and I each help thousands of animals every year. And to cut us off from being able to do that, as much as we like to help these animals, neither of us can
So it basically boils down to the need of the few versus the needs of the many. That's unfortunately it is a smaller group of animals, and it honestly is not worth throwing away everything else that you're going to do just this year, let alone for every year after that.
And this has to be done legally. The sheriff needs to be able to do their job in order to help those animals. That's where it needs to come from. It needs to come from that. It needs to come from government, even higher up if it can. And so far, that has been unsuccessful. Obviously, we're going to want to help as many animals as we can legally. But it's such a hard thing. We're not the sons of anarchy.
Right.
We can't just go in there and do what we want and tear stuff up, which I'm sure
I
some
would
days
love
we'd
that
like
though.
to. Yeah, exactly. But we have to stay legal in order for us to get along with law enforcement where we operate and where we work, and in order for us to continue to keep our supporters and continue to keep our 501c3 status and like all of those pieces that go into what we do. This is a business. We are running businesses and doing this rescue work. Like, it all has to be run that same way. And so we have to stay above board.
That's where Halina and Laurel are basically trying to extort you, because they know that you guys can't just go in there and take. They know that your hands are tied, basically.
Yes.
Exactly.
But and another thing that I do think you said that is important is, this opportunity is something that could be used for something bigger to put together some legislation and try and prevent this from happening again. I did see this question earlier, and I believe I saw something like that as well. Is it true that Halina either said to a sheriff or someone else that it is her plan to starve the animals because she can't, or let them die in the freeze because she can't afford to feed them?
I was told that someone who was talking to the sheriff, a concerned citizen, the sheriff finally broke down and said, look, she's admitted to me that she wants them to die. She doesn't want to take care of them anymore. She can't afford them. She just wants them to die. But there's nothing I can do about that as long as she keeps feeding them, minimally. So yeah, she did give malicious intent to a sheriff. And again, it's over my head how they're figuring that they can't do anything about it. I do still question that, but yeah, she did say she wants them all to die.
Well, that just confuses the living hell out of me. That seems like, how is that not giving the necessary legal?
It should be.
It should.
It absolutely should be.
See, I don't even really know how to respond to that.
There has to be more
scratching
politics.
My head. There definitely seems like something going on. Like Floss said, you've worked with hoarding cases in Weld County before, where it wasn't this drastic, where people were still like, our hands are tied. We've never worked on a hoarding case, and Colorado laws are Colorado laws. I mean, there definitely seems to be something very strange going on with people about this woman. I thought maybe I was going to figure out how she's getting this special treatment, because this is absolutely different treatment than anyone else would get.
Exactly.
So, as far as you know, then there is laws in place right now that would be enough to remove the animals.
Absolutely. Even Colorado, even Weld County, but Colorado specifically, this is absolutely against the law. And I've taken a lot of hoarding case animals that were in stellar shape compared to these animals that she has there, that didn't have nearly the infractions that she has.
Mm-hmm.
And law enforcement was very swift in going in and removing animals from this hoarding situation. A lot of times I see it in Floss, maybe you can agree or disagree. It seems like the more pet animals there are involved in addition
Yes.
to livestock animals, the faster they move. This is just one dog on the property, but
Yeah, pet animals and equine horses, that's where they'll move. There's a little bit more, tiny bit more laws protecting horses. Um, but again, I don't know. I mean, I've worked farm animal cases where the bulk were goats and goats and sheep, and it is just baffles me.
That's actually a decent question, Janice. Are ducks, geese, and turkeys considered indigenous wildlife, and don't they fall under the fish and game jurisdiction?
No.
no. The wild ones would, but not domesticated.
Okay.
And actually, it's even there's at least there's some mammals on this case. If it were just birds have the fewest protections of anyone. And if this were just birds,
Yeah.
the public wouldn't even care. I'm going to be honest with you. It's being a rescuer of 23 species, we know what people like to fundraise for. So, yeah, the birds aren't going to get any special treatment compared to the other animals.
That unfortunately, I guess I could understand that. So, is there a level? Is there one step above the county sheriff? Do you guys know? Is there or are you guys just really lost?
It's the commissioners. It's the commissioners. And in Weld County, you are 100,000% dealing with the good old boy system. You will get absolutely nowhere with them. Absolutely nowhere. So above them, you're going to the state level, with the governor, which has already been tried.
And then you were saying with the feeding, she's doing if I'm understanding this correct, she's basically feeding them the bare minimum to keep it legally fed.
She's like the pigeon lady, spreading pigeon food to all of them. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So a goat or a sheep needs a minimum 2 pounds, but 2 to 4 pounds of long stem forage like hay, alfalfa per day. And what I heard do is a few ounces, a couple of handfuls per animal that she throws on the ground for them to mouth off of the ground. So it's atrocious, and right there, that does break the law. It doesn't say, obviously you couldn't have a cat shelter and put a stalk of broccoli in there and claim that the cats are fed. It does say you have to feed appropriate food, which isn't being done, but unfortunately, either they don't know or they don't care in the Weld County Sheriff Department. So.
Well, and they don't even go into defining what appropriate food is, so they could literally, run with anything on that. I mean, they don't specify in these laws, and then that's a problem.
Man, I think we were kind of talking about this before we even went live. I think everybody wants some sort of call to action, but it doesn't really look like it's clear what that call to action could be.
I think it is still contacting, putting pressure on the sheriff's office, putting pressure on the state veterinarian's office, putting pressure on Governor Polis. I think there is still a call to action. It just isn't working as we hope. Ultimately, and Floss can speak a lot more eloquently to this, but laws need to change. And that's long term.
It is long term. And in the short term, there really isn't. The only thing we can do is continue to have, people helping to monitor the situation that these animals are in, their condition, whether they're getting food and water, just keep the pressure on Halina with this, and we have to continue to keep that pressure and continue to be observant and watch what is happening for these animals in order to even try to keep protecting them, and if they're, unfortunately, it's just setting the way the sheriff is having to work on this for whatever reason is setting these more animals up to die. So the minute we see more dead, because our hands are tied, we can't just go in and, again, like we had that discussion, we can't just go in and take them then we report it again to the sheriff, and I think they've had to be out there every day lately because, the calls are coming in.
But it just isn't going anywhere. So someone just asked the water situation. Are they getting water in these temperatures? Would that not?
No. They're allowing her to break a little tiny hole in ice that none of the animals can even reach, and they're calling that watered. So another mind-boggling thing, but you can see those waters when you go by, those little tiny holes, and they're sort of at the top in the middle of these huge troughs where really no one can reach it.
And then that's still, I'm guessing it's one of those things where she's just skimming in at a legally acceptable point.
And she knows it. Yeah, she's it's so strange to see someone doing the bare minimum.
So I just had a question of, can someone contact the owner of the land and try and help her with the eviction? And then maybe she wouldn't be able to relocate them and would have to send them off to a rescue. Is the as far as you guys know, is the property owner's hands completely tied at this moment too?
What everybody has been encouraging her to do is to file a lien against the animals and on top of the eviction process. So I think the main issue for her is that she's elderly. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't have the money for another lawyer. To do that. And she doesn't obviously understand the livestock lien laws. And even with that, she may not be able to get very far if she did file a lien. But that's the angle that we've really been trying to encourage her to take.
Because, and that's another thing for everybody to remember, the property owner is 80 years old.
Right.
She's basically, it sounds like, being held hostage with the animals at this point.
Essentially,
or at least her property is being held hostage with the animals at this point.
It is, and Halina knows that. I mean, psychologically, Halina knows that where she can take advantage of the property owner. She knows what her weaknesses are. She knows how to scare her. She knows how to bully her, and she has been very successful in doing that at this point. So this property owner is very much afraid, and she's worn down. And she's tired and she's running out of money to fight this. And Halina knows that. She absolutely knows that. It's just she's gone so far as to scare her with, okay, if you don't allow me to come onto this property, I can't feed these animals, and then you have to take care of them, and if you don't take care of them and they die, then you're going to get hit with animal cruelty and neglect. So she absolutely knows what she's doing. She knows how to scare people. She is an absolute bully, and people need to stand up to her. Do not let her get away with this. We are not going to let her get away with this. So, it's unfortunate, and I know what I would have done if I were the property owner and I was in those shoes, but I'm also, not 80 years old and vulnerable. So,
right.
It is not okay. None of this is okay. And that is something similar, though, that I have seen in hoarding situations. People like Halina will target elderly. They will target vulnerable people, single women that have farms and ranches that are alone. They will target that kind of a personality and people that are very giving and kind and take advantage of it 100% and run with it. So, I've seen this multiple times in hoarders. And it's a repeat thing. They will continue to do it. They continue to find these people and just repeat it. Even if she is gotten off of this property, she's gonna do it somewhere else. She's going to target and find somebody else somewhere else. So the more we can get it out there, what she's doing, who she is, all of these things, at least maybe we can help to warn other people in the future too.
Right. There is some questions in the comments on basically supporting the landlord. Like, is there any way to fundraise an attorney for the
Yes.
landlord, or is that something that's been discussed at all?
It has been discussed. We do have some wheels turning with that already. And so, but yes, we can and people are welcome to probably message us on either one of our Facebook pages to reach out to us directly about that. But if we could raise funding to help pay an attorney, for even to just look over the agreement for a lien on the livestock, or whatever avenue she could possibly other avenues she can take, that would be a huge help.
So that, and that almost makes more sense if you've hit this brick wall with legally with the sheriff and everything, then maybe beefing up the landlord and helping her fight and win this fight might be the best approach.
Yep.
And as somebody mentioned, fundraising, I don't know if you can hear me, but fundraising for mayor to clean up the property after. There's thousands of dollars in damage and cleanup that this 80-year-old woman is going to with. And I think it's really important to support her with this.
Right.
Because she's really taken a lot of the bullying.
I didn't even think about that. She's at best right now. If Halina left right now, she's left with Halina's mess and damages. That's like the best case scenario that she could have at this moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. A protection order. A protection order I could see it coming into play at some point. It would kind of depend on how Laurel and Halina are currently talking to the landlord and how bad they're harassing her, which I imagine they're already harassing her to some level.
Well, they are. And it's not just her. It's also the neighbors. It's the neighbors. It's people that have horses boarded next to this property. I mean, it's everybody. Everybody. She sued the landowner's maintenance man. I mean, she's unbelievable.
I mean, imagine there's a nice development of homes. It's up on a hill that overlooks this, and if you can imagine, like, wanting to go out and enjoy your backyard and looking down into a pen full of starving animals and corpses, that's really does on the rights of all of these homeowners there that just want to have I can imagine it doesn't smell good now. I can imagine summer that stench of rotting has got to be making their homes impossible.
Oh yeah, no, because right now you at least have the cold weather somewhat helping to keep the smell and somewhat preserve the corpses. That isn't going to be around forever, though.
No, it's going to get warm and stinky.
Rotting has got to be.
Lisa, I 100% agree with you. The landlord probably would need a protection order at some point.
And I do believe that is potentially in the works.
That I did see people talking earlier about that. Is it not a situation where APS or Adult Protection Services can get involved?
They are involved.
Okay. Well, so in other words, you guys are pretty on top of this. You guys are trying more than just one thing.
Every angle, of
course. God, it's all consuming. I mean, I swear it can be 2 a.m. and I'll see Floss pop up in the chat group and find something that she found online, or somebody else gets an email from someone saying, hey, what about this? Or I found this. I mean, it has been all consuming, and all of us have other very all-consuming animal rescue jobs. So it's breaking us. I'm telling you, I know there's a lot of talk about compassion fatigue in our industry, and I don't know if I even understood it in this week. I'm dealing with a whole bunch of sick calves from a hoarding case that are needing around the clock care, and this on top of it. I don't know. I mean, Floss, you with the dogs. My God, dogs are harder than farm animals, so I don't know how you're holding up, but yeah, it is. It's like, oh, it's 2 a.m. I got to get up to bottle feed. I guess that while I'm waiting for the bottles to warm up, I'll start searching her name again and seeing if I can find anything, or searching this law and find if there's any precedent of anyone getting something moved through with this idea. I think we're all, you know, the idea that somebody was going to walk in and buy them that had nothing to do with us. As much as I hated them getting, I was kind of like, oh, my mental health needs to be over for a minute. But you can't take a break. I mean, every day it's another, you know, a piglet that's got a rectal prolapsing, you know, another dead body found on the property. Also, can't just walk away.
Right.
No. Yeah. And we won't.
No.
And I saw a minute ago your local media. The local media has touched on this. They're in support of trying to shut this down, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so we've had Denver news stations, the Weld County Tribune, and then I believe it also reached Kansas City, Missouri, their paper as well, if I remember correctly.
So it is.
And I think some national media could really help us at this point. You know, there's a lot of reasons for this to go national. I think it's shocking people all over the country. But
Yes.
if we could get some national, Daily Mail, UK, international press, I think this is the of it. I think it's confusing world over at how someone could be getting away with this so blatantly, and the animals just suffering so much. I mean, it would be within her right to home slaughter every single animal on the property. I'm going to be honest. She could go out tomorrow and every single animal, and it would be legal. And although I don't happen, I also don't want this prolonged suffering for them. That's the part that's just killing me. If she wants them dead, there are quick ways to kill them. You know, as she said, she wants them dead. There are quick, painless, or fairly painless ways to kill all these animals if she really wanted to do that. But to let them suffer to death is really, and expressing wanting them to suffer to death is beyond anything I've seen from a human being.
Because let's be honest, right at this moment, if things continue like this, we're talking about them basically freezing and starving to death.
Oh, definitely.
And different improper care is already killing them. Eating the garbage. I think some of these animals have intestinal blockages that they're fighting from just eating garbage. There's a lot of conditions, but yeah, freezing and starving are going to get them first, more than likely.
Man.
Oh, that shivering piglet! Every single time I see it.
And again, I can't stress that enough either. The fact that blankets were brought out for these piglets, and then she took the blankets from them. I mean, that's how old do you think those piglets? What are we looking at there?
Those babies look to be maybe, well, and it's hard to tell if they've been starved. They look about 3 months, but they could be more like 6 months old.
I mean, but they're babies, basically.
They are babies, yeah. I mean, pigs don't mature until they're 3 years old. So yeah. I mean, they're like toddlers at this moment. And there's talk that there are more pregnant pigs. So at any moment there could be brand new, very fragile little piglets being dropped.
And then those are trash bags that they're trying to find warmth in.
Yeah.
Did you guys get hit with snow too? Are you guys frost on the ground?
I mean, down here, yeah, where we are, we're like 2 feet and then 4 foot plus snow drifts out here. So it's just, on top of fighting our own battles, we're definitely, with this is a lot.
is there even really any cover for them to get out of the?
I mean, there's the loafing shed and the camper and under the camper, but
Which is full of
not ideal.
which is full of dead
Right.
animals.
Right.
Right. And for my own sanctuary, we've been told that at least dogs have to have 3-sided shelter, which I don't think exists on the property in terms of, doors and walls being ripped off of things, or being sort of a makeshift chicken coop is one of the places that is also full of dead animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Well, do you guys have any sort of time frame, any hopes of knowing when you can hopefully maybe move forward with getting the owner some help, or?
Hopefully as quickly as possible. And we do know that her next, I believe it's her next status, I believe it's a status conference, is March 11th, in regards to
Yeah.
the eviction. So I believe that will flow into the next court hearing date about the eviction, because
Gotcha.
right now it's an appeal by Halina.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
So I mean,
Yeah.
any
And
judge is.
that's, sorry, go ahead.
Well,
No, sorry. I was gonna say any judge, I would think would finally be through all of the appeal processes, anything that Halina could have possibly been thrown at them, hopefully at this point, and finally find in favor of the landlord. And then it's going to become, what other kind of legal tricks is she going to try to pull so she doesn't have to move off that property?
and so
And that is one call to action that I don't think that we've put out there yet, is attorneys or anyone who knows attorneys that look at this and say, oh, that's an area of expertise where I think I could really help. We would love to have those people reach out to us. I'm not a lawyer. I don't think Floss is either.
No.
And we're just sort of grasping at straws, trying to do the best research we can. Even some consulting would be tremendous from anyone who's got is an attorney or has someone in the family or a friend that wants to help with this. All it takes is an animal lover and someone who knows the law.
because I think at this point we're in agreement. It's like you guys haven't ever dealt with a person like this. You haven't dealt with a situation like this before.
No.
She's a fun challenge.
And kind of the overall general theme of it is this woman's basically found a legal way of taking control of this elderly woman's property and starving and freezing animals to death.
So that she can extort nonprofits.
Exactly.
That's the end game being like, how many more levels of horrible could it be?
Well, and that's where, I mean, man, it just feels... have you guys tried anything with these messages where they're requesting money?
In terms of that, and no, I haven't had any hands-on with that. This has all been individual supporters. Like, this was an anonymous individual that was speaking with her that brought this to our attention today. So at Denkai's standpoint, we are absolutely not going to offer her any money because she has no intention of giving up the animals. For her, that's just a fun game to see how much she could get people to cough up and then drop them on their face. Like, that's all she's trying to do.
Well, and I guess that's where the question is. Nate actually just said that pretty good. Is there? I guess this really wouldn't fall into the extortion charges route.
I have no idea. I'm not a lawyer on that. I would have no idea where that would go.
Man, I don't even know what to say. I could definitely see. I mean, if she's that lawsuit happy, that could be a reason why the Weld County Sheriff is backing off. They just don't want to deal with all of those problems.
Yeah.
I don't know. But both of your pages, you guys are pretty hand in hand in this situation. So both of your pages are going to be pretty much on the same path as this continues to unfold.
Floss
Right.
writes really, really intelligent, well roasts, and then I share them, and I am a little more young, and I'll at 11 o'clock put some very emotional post up. So getting the best of both worlds. You're getting crazy animal lady, and you're getting really intelligent director of a nonprofit.
We do have one of the which actually Lisa and any of my other attorney peoples, because I know I got a few of you out there that follow me. You might, if you have any ideas, you might, again, in the description to this live, there are links to both of their Facebook pages. Lisa, if you or any of my other attorneys out there have any sort of ideas, you might want to message both the pages, either page. Is there a preference? I mean, is it both pages? And
I think Floss is kind of heading things up, and I'll talk to anybody
Okay.
so that she's not swamped,
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
one way or another between those two pages, you can definitely get any information that you think might be pertinent or helpful to the landlord, to this situation in general. You can get it through either one of those pages. Is there anything else you guys want to add on?
I think we covered quite a bit of it. I just definitely, people, this is mental illness. This does not start or stop at the animals. Again, it flows over into people. It flows into other members of the community. Again, the elderly. This is not just single pronged. This is multi-pronged here. So I just, and it's typically that way with hoarders, animal hoarders anyhow, but I just really want to stress the importance of that and continuing to keep the pressure on, hit legislature. It looks like we've got the fundraiser going for legal help, or going up on our page for legal help for the property owner right now. So just definitely keep track of our pages, reach out to help. We're going to hit it at every angle we possibly can.
Don't message me saying, call me on the telephone, I have some new information, and then I call and they go, I'm going to go steal the animals tonight.
No,
I get
please
those
don't.
about 5 times a day. At least 5 times a day I get those messages.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They have to follow their red tape. So I'm not saying anybody to do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying you have to leave Andrea and Floss out of even those talks. I would say that can just reflect negatively on you guys.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Marie, you're 100% correct. Laurel and Halina can do these to these animals. Imagine what is done to that child. Animal abuse is a huge red flag for serial killers and a whole list of different mental issues. Yes. What we're talking about here is not just neglect. This is purposeful animal abuse. And very disturbing animal abuse because she's choosing to watch them suffer and starve and freeze. So you're 100% correct there, Marie. These are really big red flags on both of them, like 100%. Man, it's just a sad situation all around. But
it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully that can. I think maybe the landlord approach might be a smart approach, and just get her support and just get her off the property. So.
And the lien on the animals is a way for us to get the animals.
Right.
Now, and if it's legally, because earlier you said you guys can take the animals, if obviously, which again, if anybody missed that, you can't go steal these animals and try and give it to one of these sanctuaries. You're going to get that sanctuary shut down if you do something like that. But as far as you guys not being able to take the animals, if they are actually legally taken off the property and everything, are you guys at that point able to?
Yeah, we have a plan. If the animals can be can come to us legally. The mammals will come here, and the birds have been committed to by another sanctuary, so that we can, in a sanctuary setting, very quickly get them with veterinary experts, do anything that needs to be done. Unfortunately, when animals are this starved, you can't just go throwing tons of food at them. You could
Right.
actually make the problem worse. So, we did. There is a plan in place that if they're legally surrendered, they'll all be in sanctuary and be safe, loved, and free the rest of their lives.
Is this? I've seen a few people ask this. Is this something where PETA, like, are they able to get involved and help? Or I see a laugh. Like that's not.
Yeah.
That's
we do
how.
tell
That's
people to
actually.
call them.
That's actually how I feel about the ACLU on a lot of things. So I'll let you guys.
They actually had they had PETA had someone message me to say, we really want to help you, but please posting call us, because we can't answer the phone and have time to help you. And so I did posted a little bit to say, hey, send PETA, they say they're going to help now, and nothing here nor there since then. I think that was kind of par for the course. I think these groups, they don't like to lose, and so they see this situation as a losing situation,
Right.
and they don't want to come in and help. They'll come in if somebody's already done all the legwork and it's time to go. They'll and take videos and do their fundraising. I mean, whatever.
If it does get to that national media point and Daily Mail and other guys like that hop in, I imagine you'll get a call back from them at that point.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean that's still it's a coin toss of if you're going to or not, but man. So.
And we were contacted as well by World Animal News out of Los Angeles, and so I did send them, what information we had, and I don't know whether they've jumped on that or not. I haven't heard back from them either. So hopefully, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's also good though, so people know like this isn't like they haven't just made some Facebook posts. They're not just sitting there, not doing shit.
Right.
They've pointed out way more walls that went up than I was expecting on this live. You guys really, it sounds like you've done a pretty thorough job of trying to take every single approach you can, and that's awesome that you are trying to do that. It's just a bad deal.
And just to point out as well, if the sheriff's office was finally able to come in and seize those animals and pull them, typically they're going to go to a feedlot, producers or possibly Centennial, and which means that typically they are not going to be getting the care they need there as well either, most of the time, in terms of species specific food, etc. And so our hope is that if it ever boiled down to that and the sheriff was able to pull or seize those animals, that they would be willing to work with the good, legitimate, with Andrea, with those sanctuaries that are there, that are willing to help take these animals and that are experts in what they do.
Yeah.
Well, at least it sounds like there's somewhat of a plan. It definitely sounds like you have an uphill battle in front of you, unfortunately. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody can follow the 2 pages. That's probably going to be your 2 best places to get updates on the situation. And again, any legal friends out there, please feel free to message them and give any sort of pointers that you would want or you think could be helpful in this situation. I did just realize too, earlier I had asked about some state reps, and I mean it looks like they have been contacted, and it's still like it's really not helping all that much.
Nope. And, obviously we don't know the judge's reasoning for not wanting to issue the warrant. We don't know. So
Which, and that's the main hang up right now, correct? Is that a judge will not allow this
right.
warrant for the.
Right, and also that the state veterinarian had come in. I'm sure we said this earlier. I can't remember now, but that the state veterinarian had come in, had assessed those animals, and did say that that while the pain conditions were terrible, that they could not body condition score the animal enough to warrant seizing them. So that may be the hang up and why the judge cannot issue a warrant. Most likely.
Also, to put it out there that the state that you cannot do a body condition or visually. It is a hands-on process, and the state veterinarian did not go into the pen. He did not touch the animals. It's especially hard with wool-growing animals, with fiber animals, to assess a body condition score without touching the animal. So another weird, bogus twist in this. But yeah, the state veterinarian, had they given a different report, I bet that the judge would have been on a different page as well.
Now, if for anybody, including myself, that doesn't know, what do you mean by a body score?
So animals are scored 1 to 5, and it has to do with how much fat reserve they have. So there's on different species, there's different areas. So the withers, the shoulders, the tail for a lot of animals, their fat stores can be shown. You can't just look at an animal and an animal with worms will be bloated, so their belly will look big. But when you actually have your hands on them, or you're feeling those bony structures, then you can tell that they actually are underweight, even though they might look large. 1 to 5. 5 would be overweight. 4 would be slightly overweight. 3, perfect condition. 2 would be slightly underweight. 1 would be underweight, and then you can go down to 0, which means absolutely no reserves. And again, until you actually feel the animal in the right places where a veterinarian knows to do body condition scoring, you can't give that assessment visually. I mean, it'd be like, if you're wearing a giant snowsuit, you couldn't really get a good assessment of, are muscular, are you large, are you skin and bones? It masks what's actually on with the animal. So
Right.
there's been just another level of inappropriate care and policing being done on this case is boggling my mind. I can't imagine a vet going to do a body condition score without touching an animal.
And then there was a question just now, don't the deceased animals count in the condition assessment?
I guess not. I guess they cut their losses, I guess. They figure need to save that one anymore.
Man, that is... I know a lot of people appreciate what you guys do, though. I know that can't be easy to go against something like this. So I think we quite possibly, I don't know, is there anything else? I think we touched on about everything.
Yeah, I think we pretty well covered it.
So at this point, you guys just gotta, if you want to keep up to speed, go follow both the pages in the descriptions. Again, I have both of those links, and then I do have some other stuff on Halina. After this live is down, I'll go back in and add in those other links into the description. There's links in the description to follow, subscribe, all this, to my page, support page, all that good stuff. And there's everything that you need to get over to the 2 animal sanctuaries. And it sounds like overall, like, you guys are pretty open for ideas still.
Oh, definitely.
If they're, especially if they're different than the ones we've already sort of agonized and posted about.
So,
right.
and specifically, I'd probably say any legal people that may be watching this that have experience in property/squatter laws. It
Yeah,
kind of
Yep.
sounds like this has turned into a squatter situation.
for sure.
I believe, yeah, yeah. It looks like because it looks like that initial lease to put the animals on that property was signed in 2018. So we're, two and a half or so, not quite 2.5 years into that. This lady is. So yeah, easily.
Marie, there is a petition going around. One thing I do always try and caution people on, though, digital petitions normally, I mean, they won't hold up in court. In order for it to be a legal signature, it needs to actually be on paper with pen. You have to be a resident of that area. You have to be registered as a voter. If it was challenged in court, they can throw out a whole bunch of signatures. So, but still, like, the digital petitions are good because it can show a lot of support for that movement, and that can kind of work as like a jury by the public to put some pressure on a politician. But as far as legally holding up, because at the end of the day, I could sit there and just reload that petition and keep on filling out different names.
Right.
It's so they are
And
what they are.
Right. And we really need people, if they're acting as individuals, for this and trying to help. We really need them to be in contact with us about what they're wanting to do so that we can approach this as an organized, unified front instead of as 50,000 different legs stretching out everywhere and nobody knows what anybody's doing.
Right.
So definitely want to make sure people understand that they need to work together.
There needs to be communication. It does need to be an organized effort.
Right.
So, you guys, again, anybody that think they may have some sort of idea, please feel free to message Andrea or Floss on their pages that's in the descriptions. Both of you, we are now in contact. If you guys have an update or anything, or you want to, if there's anything that you need to come back on for, you guys, both of you are welcome back whenever.
Thank you.
And I'll do my
Yeah,
best.
thank you so much.
Well, and especially with the fact that Laurel was one of our kiddos and made it over to your world. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this. I really didn't expect all of that, but I got several. I probably got around a dozen messages or so about this situation in the last 12 to 24 hours. So yeah, I know that we'll be watching, and that's another thing on Facebook. If you want to know more about Laurel and Halina, there's a group called Kent Hovid's Worst Nightmare. I'm going to put a link to that in. I believe that was in the comments as well. That goes into a little bit more detail on like her CPS and criminal charges. There are some vicious researchers in there that are really damn good at digging up everything they can on people. So you can find a lot of information on the sort of people that Floss and Andrea are up against, because they are disturbed people. They honestly are. I mean, I can even see in the comments how many of my people that have met them and had run-ins with them think Laurel is just a nightmare of a person, because she is. So I can't even imagine you guys having to deal with both of them at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, we deal with animals who, get out of pens, and I have a 2,400-pound steer who likes to run at me and knock me over when he feels like it. So I feel like we've been well prepared to deal with these two people, and their senseless bullying. So
it's not gonna hurt us.
Which Marie, for anybody, what Marie did just bring up a good point. For anybody that's watching, and I know Laurel's been going around on some of the posts, I believe that Halina actually deleted a Facebook that we found for her. It was something like Calico Foot or something like that.
Calico Foot.
Yeah, and then her mother actually used to have a Darlene Foot, which was Foote as well. If this is something where you see her and you start talking crap back and forth with her, just know, like, she's going to go through your friends. She's going to look for your job. She'll contact your family. She'll contact your work. It's something that they've been doing for a while now. So just a little warning for anybody, because she's a disgusting person, and I get it. She says terrible things. I've seen some of her comments talking about, oh, you like rainbow sex with pigs or whatever it was she was saying.
Oh, Lord.
She says terrible things that make you want to respond to her. So if you
that was on the governor, first gentleman's post. Yeah. So
that's something that's common. She's said very bizarre homophobic comments to me countless times. I can't even tell you how many times. So that is one thing. If you do go and argue with her, just be prepared for that, because she honestly will contact your work, your family. Yeah. So just be ready to quit her or block her. She does have anywhere between 12 and 24 fake accounts, and she'll make them on a whim too.
I figured that.
Great.
Yeah, one of my peoples I saw just said a little bit ago, she believed that she counted 19 accounts that she believes are linked to Laurel. So
I see that it says that she's been to Robert's house.
There was a real Robert Beatty is who actually runs the Kent Hava group, and there was a real weird time where she was like apparently driving around his town or his home area while she was in Colorado. She's got some issues. She's got some serious mental issues, I would say, because you're talking about a retired old woman that's just stalking people on Facebook every day and now helping her daughter extort money to stop abusing animals. I mean, this is not normal.
Right.
This isn't normal at all.
Yeah. No.
So guys, do just approach, try and just ignore her comments, because honestly, she's not even worth it. But if she suckers you in, just be careful, because she holds a grudge.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
And that's for everybody. That's for everybody in the comments too. Aside from that, I think that wraps everything up. And again, you guys are welcome back anytime. I hope everything goes good. I hope this helps clear up some of the confusion and also people not understanding what you guys do. So
thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no, thank you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate you.
No, and we really appreciate you over here. I've been doing this since 2014, and animal abuse has always been one that I've never stayed away from that topic. So, we don't like that around over on my stuff. So, but yeah, guys,
thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and thank everybody that watched. Again, you can contact them through their pages. You can watch those pages for updates, and any legal people, especially with knowledge in property/squatter situations, please give these guys a shout and see if maybe you can help them come up with something. I will be seeing you guys again soon, though. I think I need to check my emails either later tonight or tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow. I need to see what she said, but I did talk to Miss Lively. She's better known as the Target Karen. She was a QA non-believer that recently, or was able to break out of the QA non, and it almost ruined her life. She's going to come on and do an interview and talk about falling for Q and then getting out of Q. So that'll be coming up soon. And aside from that, it almost ruined her life. Aside from that, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you guys for coming on, and we will see you guys again next time.
All right. Thank you.